But first, dueling border visits, that's the focus of tonight's Angle. Bad poll numbers, very bad poll numbers. That's the reason, and the only reason, that the White House decided to send Biden finally to the border after years of avoiding it like the plague. Now, by traveling there today, the same day as Trump's visit, Biden hoped to kind of steal Trump's thunder. But Texas Governor Greg Abbott set the crowd straight.
We have President Trump back in the state of Texas, literally on the border itself. At the very same time, we have President Biden down in Brownsville, Texas, which was an obligatory visit by him. He'd never been to the border. In fact, I don't think he's on the border itself right now. He's in some sanitized location. It just goes to show that Biden does not care about either Texas or the border and what's going on.
Oh, he's never been better than he was today. All right, well, Biden, of course, went to Brownsville, not to Tucson, not to the San Diego sector we've reported from. But he didn't go there because he didn't want those visuals, because there is no defending what's happening. It's a stream of humanity, a lot of, working age men lined up, ready to be released into the United States. Now, only a few dozen illegals crossed near Brownsville this month versus where Trump was. So who won the border duel?
It's real simple. It's time to act. It's long past time to act. I just received a briefing from the Border Patrol. They're all doing incredible work under really tough conditions. Really tough conditions. They told me what you already know and we already know. They desperately need more resources. It's time to step up. It's time to step up. And let's remember who we are. We're the United States of America.
Weird. Now, Trump didn't need to pretend to be outraged because he's been on this issue for decades.
Last year, almost half of all ICE arrests were criminal aliens charged for more than 33,000 assaults, 3,000 robberies, 6,900 burglaries, 7,500 weapons crimes. This is all migrant crime. 4,300 sex crimes, 1,600 kidnappings, and 1,700 homicides and murders. Just 1 week ago, a beautiful 22-year-old nursing student from Georgia was barbarically attacked, almost unrecognizable, while she was out on her morning run. I spoke to her parents yesterday. They're incredible people. They're devastated beyond belief.
And in 2015, when Trump announced his run for the presidency, when he came down that golden escalator, he talked about the crimes committed by illegals. When he did that, the press went bananas. How dare he speak about that way about those poor people? And here we are. What is it, almost 9 years later? When horrific crimes are being committed by illegals against innocent Americans, the press still doesn't care.
All the data shows that the crimes committed by undocumented immigrants is much lower than crimes committed by others, but there have been some high-profile crimes. You are going to continue to see Donald Trump seizing on that from now until November.
Seizing on it because the collateral damage. Any crime committed by illegal against American should never have happened because they shouldn't be in this country. Again, the press is not worried that too many illegals are coming to the United States, among them criminals. The press is worried that tough policies could stop more from coming.
Do you get a sense in speaking to migrants that policies here in the United States might actually alter their decision?
I think it comes down to the level of desperation. They have to monitor the ocean at night for people who will be dropped off. That determination is fueled by the desperation.
Yeah, that desire for freedom and prosperity for so many migrants, undeterred by policy.
Did you get what happened there? Undeterred by policy. Now, forget the hardworking Americans hoping for prosperity. Forget those people. They don't count. Now, Americans know that Trump has credibility on the border. Mumbling, stumbling Biden has zero. And a hastily organized visit accomplishes nothing. Neither did his lame attempt to resurrect that sham immigration bill that went up in flames. By the way, a talking point given to him by Mitch McConnell.
This bill was in the United States Senate, was on its way to being passed. Then it was derailed by rank and file politics, rank partisan politics. Conservative leaders supported this. And let's remember who we are. We're the United States of America. No, I mean this. Think about this. There's nothing beyond our capacity. Nothing.
Yeah, so why didn't you enforce the border? Why did you gut all of Trump's executive orders day one? Look, let's keep it simple. Trump enforced the border and started building a wall. Biden opened the border and stopped the wall's construction.
Joe Biden lied to America when he told America that he needed Congress to pass laws for him to be able to do something about the border. Because there are 3 laws that Congress has already passed that are on the books right now that Biden could and should enforce. Biden not only is not building any borders, Biden is using every tool that he can to tear down the borders that Texas is putting up in our state.
And the legacy of Joe Biden isn't just dead Americans killed by illegals. It's dead migrants who died during their crossings or children abused and trafficked. Our next guest tweeted that just yesterday in Eagle Pass, where Trump was, Texas DPS found 5 unaccompanied children traveling with 60 illegals, all adults, and the kids were ages 5 to 11. One had a torn piece of paper saying to go to New York, another a piece of paper listing a town in Texas. In the Biden campaign, it wants voters to believe that all of this, everything you've been seeing over the last many, many months and years, is the fault of House Republicans and Donald Trump. Good luck selling that storyline, even with the help from the press. Remember what we've always told you. The Democrats' policy is to keep the border open, period. That's what their donors demand. That's been their policy for years, and that's what Biden will do in his second term. The only time you're going to ever hear them touch on the issue of enforcement, pretend to care about enforcement, is when they're in political trouble, and boy, are they in political trouble. And Biden's trip today proves that their focus groups and polls are telling the White House the same thing they're telling the rest of us. Their open border policies could cost them the 2024 election. And that's The Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.